And about next week, 5 years ago, Lloyd was supposed to be in rehab for 90 days. And they called me and said that our insurance wasn't going to cover it and that I had to come pick him up. And we were not ready for Lloyd to come home. He was not ready to come home. And somehow, God gave me the name of this man in Northwest Arkansas that had literally, I called him, and he had just opened, like that week, basically. I mean, right at that time, they had just opened a sober living house associated with the Genesis Church, if you're familiar with them. They do incredible work there in Northwest Arkansas. And they were only going to accept people from John 3:16, which is a sobriety ministry in eastern Arkansas. But for some reason, God, they took Lloyd. And Lloyd lived with these group of men, and he served at that church, and we were able to see him. And until he stayed there until he was supposed to be there a year, and he stayed there until February. And they decided that it was time, and we decided it was time for him to come home. The next month, the world shut down and COVID, and he was home with us. And it was hard. It was hard, really hard, because he had not been sober, and we had not lived with a sober dad or a sober husband. And all those things that you had before are still there. He's just not drunk anymore, you know? And so you can't blame it on that. But anyway, over the last 5 years, God has continued to redeem our story. Like, he wasn't done then. He didn't just bring him home and he's finished and now we live together, y'all. Like, I watched him 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Bryce came to church and, like, lost his mind. I still don't know what God did. I still don't know what he said. But what I saw was him with his arms wrapped around my husband, bawling his eyes out, and them praying over each other, and forgiveness happening. And then a few weeks ago, months ago, Brady shared his testimony with Fields of Faith, with hundreds of kids, and he talked about what he had walked through and how God was with him. 43 students gave their lives to Christ that night. Like, God is not done, right? He's not ever finished. He continues to move and redeem. We went to a football game at Shiloh Christian, which is where we were before, and someone there had seen the video that I posted of Brady sharing his testimony and came up and spoke to Brady about what it meant to him. Like, he's not ever done. He just continues to redeem and restore more than we can ask or imagine. For my husband to be standing up here and speaking to y'all, and my son to be sharing his life with y'all and other people, for us to be happy and a whole family is more than I could have asked for or imagined. To be here with you, to watch these girls that and young men too, but that Lloyd and I poured into in high school, like to see them, to see Brooke live out the calling that God has for her. That is powerful stuff, y'all. He just continues to redeem and restore, and he is good. He is better than we can ask or imagine, and I'm so thankful.
Good stuff. Kathy, if I come see you, will you give me a discount? Is that... Just kidding. Man, we've heard so many testimonies about community, how we're living out community. And if you're going through the small group thing, the last session was all about how important it is to be in community and the different levels. You know, this is one level here, and this is great. But the small group is maybe even more valuable. And one of the things that the teacher of it said was that you cannot grow as a Christian by yourself. And I think we're seeing examples today of the community being acted out. And I want to just give a practical example in my life. I have a brother who lives in Rogers, and he is really in a tough place. He's his wife, who was very intelligent, PPA, which is, the neurologist said he cannot leave her at home alone. It's not safe for her. And he's nearing retirement, and he works for Walmart in the home office, and he went to his bosses, and they graciously have allowed him to work at home for the next few months till he retires, so he can keep an eye on her. But he's just worn out, emotionally shot, and he was trying to put together this Social Security thing online, and he was having trouble with it. He was so frustrated, and he called me, and I could tell he was just at his wit's end. And I said, "Don't worry about it. I got a friend who's in Social Security." I said, "Chill out. It's okay." So I talked to Lloyd at the chili cook. Was it chili cook-off? Yeah, when I saw you. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I got it. Have him call me Monday." So I sent him Lloyd's number. He called him Monday, and I think Monday late morning, he called me. He said, "Oh, man, that Lloyd's the greatest." He said, "He solved this for me." He said, "You wouldn't believe the weight off my shoulders." I said, "Yeah, that's the church at work right there."
So I'm thankful for my poverty. I was in the moment of my deepest, lowest point as far as poverty goes, that I swallowed my pride and came here to get some food, not knowing what I would receive was not food for my body, but spiritually. My family grew, and I kept hearing these things about expanding my tents. I don't know what that means. I didn't know what it meant. You know, as I've grown spiritually, I realized that it's an expansion of your family. Of course, I'm with my anxiety. I tend to think the worst first. And I was like, "So you're meaning all this is temporary? I'm about to lose everything all over again. The rug's just about to be jerked, and I'm waiting for that moment." I got to meet my uncle, who really nobody's ever even met. 50 years, he's in his 80s. You know, he went to the Marines when my mom was 8 years old. We just got reunited for the first time ever. It's amazing. All these things that, you know, I call them breadcrumbs, the way the Spirit moves. And nothing makes sense until it does. And it's amazing. So I'm thankful for the way the Spirit moves, the way the Spirit talks to me. It's all kooky and weird and crazy, and it just fits. And yes, just like me. So I'm also thankful for my depression, because it was in the lowest moment of my depression that God finally said enough, and placed his hand upon me. And ever since then, I'm finding strength in it. And because of all these things that I go through, I'm able to connect in those ways to people who I see going through them. And so I'm thankful for all of it. I'm thankful for my addiction, because I can reach people knowing exactly what that's like, and ignite the flame that I know is already there, but they might not, you know, that light of hope. I'm thankful for my anxiety, because it is through my anxiety that I'm soothed, and that I learn how to soothe others, and with God too. I'm thankful God puts all the right people in just the right place at the right time, even if you might not realize it, you know. Every single one of you, all of your testimonies has made my life better. Even if I haven't spoken to you, you might not have ever said a word to me, but you might wear something that is sentimental to me and that sends a message through the Spirit. And I hear it and I see it, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you. I'm thankful for my fears, because it is through my fears and with all of the encouragement of all of you that the Spirit teaches me that nothing is impossible, and His love always prevails, never fails. I'm thankful for sorrow, because I believe that the road to redemption is paved with the salt from the tears of the suffering. So I'm thankful for all of that.
So I am thankful for this church family. For God has placed so many people in here that stand in the gap when I am in a place where I don't even know what to say to God. Somebody will walk up out of nowhere and pray for me, because God speaks to them and they listen. And I love that about this church family. And I am going to call a couple people out. Lila, Beth, and Margaret. I am on day 80 of no cigarettes. And Margaret has shared a testimony with me that kind of helped lead to that. Beth has prayed for me many times. Lila has been on me since, I don't know, almost 20 years. You know that's very bad for you. You shouldn't do that. You know why your blood pressure's high, right, Melissa? How do you know my blood pressure's high, Lila? You haven't even taken it. And so I hear her, especially when I first quit and I was trying to get past those cravings, Lila was nagging me in the back of my head. Thank you, God, for Lila's nagging. And just thank you guys for being supportive all the time. And like I said, standing in the gap when some of us just don't know what to say next, other people are always there. And so I just love this Vineyard family.
I want to give thanks to my church family that God give me. You know, I was praying for a family, to be able to have a church family, and the Lord allowed me to come here. And I feel like you're my family, and you're all so special, and I'm so thankful. I'm thankful for each and every family represented here. I love you. I've been going through a lot with my daughter, and I thank you for the prayers. But you know, I give thanks with a grateful heart today. I wake up in the morning and I say, thank you, Lord, for another day and another opportunity to serve you. And I'm so thankful how He provides for me. It's been a year since I lost my husband, but I've never been alone. He's always been there. And He's always made a way. And I was thinking here a month or so ago, after church, I stopped by Aldi's to pick up some groceries, and I just had a limited amount of money, and I got what I needed. And I was waiting to be checked out. And I get up to the cash register. There's this young lady. She was probably in her 20s, ahead of me. And I just had a little bit. But I got up there to pay for it. And the girl that was checking, she said, oh, that young lady, she's already paid for your groceries. You don't owe anything. And you know, God was just showing me little as much when he's in it. I had a little, but God made the provision for what I needed. And that's my God. He's there. He's my Ishi because I'm a widow. He's my provider. He's my Savior. And I've walked with him many, many years. And each day gets sweeter and sweeter in the relationship with him. I spend a lot of time with the Lord by myself at home. And I'm thankful that he talks to me. And he shows me in his word how we can depend upon him. And all the clutter and the clatter around us and the things that are happening in the world, they can't touch us. They can't touch us because he said he'd keep our mind in perfect peace when our mind stayed on him. And so I look to him every day, and I'm thankful for my church family.
I want to say I'm very thankful for this church. Most of you have seen me grown, and I wasn't really a great child. I'm going to say that. I was very rude. I had my walls up so high to protect myself. But I came here, and you guys greeted me. And I want to thank you for my mom. She's done so much for me and gave me the life I've never had. Thank you.
So as you heard, Kevin was asking me, what am I going to give thanks about? And it prompted something in my memory. There's a verse in Revelation 12:10, and it says, "And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now the salvation and the power of the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come, for the accuser of our brothers have been thrown down, who accuses them day and night before our God. And they have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. For they loved not their lives even unto death." And this morning, I think we've seen that with people coming up and sharing what God has done. Not only are we giving glory to God and remembering the things that he's done that's helped us, but I think it's encouraging everyone else's faith. Wow, God did that for them. He could do that for me. He could do that for somebody in my life. So we see that happening. And so I'll share with you one of the many things I have to be thankful for. About a year ago, I started looking at replacing my vehicle because it was an old vehicle. It was about 23 years old. It had a lot of miles on it. And if you've been vehicle shopping, you know that nothing is affordable anymore. When they want what I would consider a house would have cost 20 years ago for a vehicle, it was just outside my price range. And so we, get along as well as we can. And back in April, I go to meet Mom. She was having a doctor's appointment. I go to meet her, and on my way to meet her, my transmission starts going out in my Jeep. And it's making this horrible sound. It sounds like it's about to grenade on me. I get up past second gear, and it's running all right, but I get down, stop, and go, and it's horrible. So I meet Mom. I tell her to follow me over to the transmission place. I found a transmission place. I get over to the transmission place, and the tech comes out, and he looks at it, and he looks underneath, and he says, "I can tell you right now, it's an old Toyota transmission, even though it's in a Jeep. And you can't get parts for it now. They quit making parts for it. It'd be really expensive. 2 or 3 times what the Jeep actually is worth to fix it." So I'm like, all right, what am I going to do now, Lord? And so I had my mom follow me back to the house, and on the way back to the house, I thought, there's a salvage yard not far from me. I'll go and see if maybe they have a transmission over there. And on my way over there, we get there, and lo and behold, they had some cars out front that were for sale. And they had just got the day before 2010 Tahoe. And I'm looking at kind of what they got, and I see the Tahoe, and it's like, oh, wow, look at that. And what they were asking for was probably about 40% less of what the book values was. And so I got my friend Clint to come over there with me and take a look at it, get a second pair of eyes on it, and see what he thought about it. And it was the blessing of God. In the same day that my transmission goes out, he provides a new vehicle at a price that I could raise the money for and afford. So, I've been looking, and Lord, how am I going to afford this? And am I going to have to take out a loan? Because I don't want to take out a loan, yada, yada, yada. And out of nowhere, in a day that started off to be pretty crappy, God provided in a big way. And so that's just how he, great and wonderful he is. And I also want to thank everybody who's been praying for me, because this has been a hard year. There's been a lot of health issues, but again, he provides. And so all praise be to our Christ, our King, right?
Let's go ahead and get the worship team up. We'll close out our service with praise. I'm going to need 2 volunteers to help me with communion, please. Okay. Remember that on the night that you were betrayed, that you took bread, and you blessed it and you broke it. And you said, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." The meal was over. You took a cup of wine, and you said, "This is my blood, which is being poured out for you, for the forgiveness of your sins